Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Non-Toxic Environments Live this week. This is Andy Pace. So happy you all could join us today. Just a wonderful topic and a very exciting guest for me to have here on the show today. Allison Evans, one of the founders of Branch Basics, who I can, talk about forever as far as the materials. I use them myself, and I have them here in our showroom. But Allison and I have... you have I'll bring you on the show. Allison, welcome to the show. Let's first introduce you.
I'm so glad to be here. Yay. Well, it's such a great intro. I thought I'd just let you continue.
The thing is, I could sit and talk about how I know your aunt and then
so much history.
Yeah, exactly. And
I've literally heard the name Andy Pace. I'm not kidding. We moved to live out in the hill country of Texas with Marilee in 2008. And that's when I first heard your name. So it's been a while.
Wow. Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah. I remember working with her with some clients that we both had, some clients that we shared, so to speak. So I think she and I had our own specific specializations with different clients. I really focused on the building materials, and she focused more on the home living environment.
Exactly.
And so very well respected in the industry. And, I looked at her as certainly one of my mentors in the industry.
Well, yeah, take a number. I'm just kidding. She's pretty awesome. I will say she is my aunt. I am very biased. She's the godmother to my babies and co-founder of Branch Basics alongside me. Also the aunt that I thought was a little bit cute growing up. I'm like, what are you doing? Like non-toxic, what? Low VOC, no fragrances, what? And then here we are, like our entire education platform is basically her brain. I mean, when we went to live with her when I was sick after college, and I can go into this in a little bit, but I was, so literally 22, I guess, in 2008. And this was before the whole, green movement. I guess the green movement had taken off, but true clean living, juicing and grounding and EMFs, like these things that we hear about now, whether we, acknowledge them or not, they were not being acknowledged in 2008. So she has always been way ahead of the curve. And it's pretty amazing. We left that summer, and my best friend and I looked at each other and we said, we're going to get Marilee's brain on the internet. And that's what we've been trying to do for many years.
That's amazing. I remember back in the early 90s when I started the company, and, I searched around for people who had experience in the industry or who were pioneers. And I'm talked with people like Deborah Lynn Dad.
Love her.
I mean, she was an absolute inspiration. I had her on my podcast several years ago. And she was just a unique individual, and it just offered so much for everybody. And then folks like John Bauer and Tommy Lyle. Tommy Lyle owned a place called the Allergy Relief Shop in Tennessee, if you remember that.
Yes, I'm remembering that. And who wrote the book Healthy Home? Oh gosh, it's one of the main ones that Marilee had referred to. She'd always said it's so hard. People said, write a book. And she says it's so hard because as soon as you write a book,
sure,
the materials change or the specifications change or whatever. You can't rely on these companies to stay true.
Right. Paula Baker Laporte.
Paula Baker.
Yeah, she wrote and just actually revamped her version just last year.
Yeah.
Athena
I took
Thompson.
a building biology course from her in person in Florida, and it was awesome.
Yeah. I was really honored to be on the board of directors of the Building Biology Institute with her. And it was just a wealth of information, all these people. And so I've been so blessed over my career to be able to work with these people who had all of this knowledge. And I've been a sponge. I just absorbed everything. And now when I work with clients all over the world, I'm just regurgitating a lot of the information that I've learned over these years, and been able to learn from every customer that I talk to. And so
that's amazing.
It's interesting. So I want to talk about your company, of course, and I also want to talk about your home project. And I guess let's first talk about the company, because honestly, that's how you and I met. I think is again a common acquaintance in your aunt, Marilee Nelson, and then I think we
I
reached
guess
out
my
one
home
day.
project is really what brought us
Oh,
together.
that's true. Yeah, yeah.
Because I know, I mean, obviously you had known about Branch Basics and had used it, but then I think we really didn't actually connect until more recently. So I'm very grateful. We had a crazy home project. We had lots of mold. I live here in Houston, Texas, 1950s home. It was an unexpected purchase because we didn't expect to be moving back to Houston. We actually were building a house out in the country north of Austin, and it got taken by a tornado in April of last year.
Wow.
It was pretty crazy. I mean, like movie style, like you don't think it's ever going to happen to you.
Oh,
So we moved back rather abruptly, and I can go more into the home project later. But yeah, there were many silver linings to the home project, and one of them was our relationship. So I'm very thankful.
well, I guess we're talking about it now, so it's kind of fresh on mind.
Yeah,
Let's talk about the home project
sure.
because I think that there's so many lessons to be learned from these projects, and everybody who listens to the show, one of the biggest responses we get from our show is when people hear unfortunate stories, but then it turns into, and here's the silver lining in that black cloud.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And like I said, we're in Houston, so it's a 1950s home in Houston, Texas. It's going to have mold. Um, and I have chronic Lyme disease. So for me, mold is like throwing gasoline on the Lyme fire. It's
Mhm.
not an option. I can't live with it. I can't be with it. I can hardly uh, be somewhere for long without getting certain symptoms. And I've had mold exposure in the past that I'm still working on. Stachybotrys 10 years ago is still showing up in my urine samples. I'm like, get it out. So my detoxification system is not like the next person. So I just have to kind of go the extra mile. And then, of course, my kids keep me wanting to, create the cleanest environment as possible. So the first thing we did was, I mean, I am all about when in doubt, get it out. Like, I am not one to say you have mold, let's wipe it down, let's try to kill it. Nope, you just got to tear it out. So I knew that when we purchased the house, and my husband knew too, he was well aware. I said, look, you don't know how bad it's going to be until you get in there,
Mhm.
And so we had a surround both of the bathrooms in the house. We have 3 bathrooms, but both of the bedroom bathrooms had mold in them, and we had one of those drop-in surround tubs from like the 70s that there was a tiny little leak. And I mean, all you had to do was open up the access panel and you could just see the mold everywhere. And you often wonder, like, how did the people that have been living in this home with their 3 precious children, like, how were they not symptomatic?
Right.
So you can kind of easily start talking to yourself like, well, they seem fine, or it's been fine, or I've lived with this forever, or every house has mold, but you just can't go there. You have to do what's best for your family. And so for us, we opened it up, and of course we found more than we thought we were going to find. But on many levels, the house, um, we ended up going forward with it, despite some people saying, "Oh, I don't know, this may not be. You're putting lipstick on a pig. It may not be worth it." But there were so many other factors, like we don't have a 5G tower around here. The neighborhood that we chose doesn't spray regular mosquito spraying. I mean, there's just so many different things I had to really consider. It wasn't just the mold. And so, yeah, we went for it, and were able to remediate all the mold. We got it all out. We didn't, and it was funny. The contractors were like, we could actually just clean this area up, and I'm looking at all the around the inside of the tub, and I'm like, no, I want it out, and they're always going to pitch different products that they use that can get clearance. I'm like, yeah, it'll probably get clearance, and
Mhm.
then it's going to grow back.
Yep.
um, so I can talk a little bit if you want about the process that we use to get the mold out. Is that
Yeah,
okay?
I'm curious because
Yeah.
there's always different methods, depending on the location in the country and the
Yeah.
what types of technologies are being published down there. It's interesting. Just a couple points is that did you know if the home when you purchased it, do you know that the home was like water damage from maybe one of the hurricanes or
We knew that it wasn't, or
okay.
to our knowledge, it wasn't. And that's the mistake that I had made in a home 5 years ago, where I didn't know I had Lyme until I moved into that home. It had flooded during, oh gosh, forgetting the huge hurricane. I should totally know this. I get them all confused because there's so many.
Right.
But anyway, the foundation was saturated. And I think something that people don't realize is that unless that foundation is completely dried out, which is very rare that people are going to spend the time, the resources, the money to completely dry out that slab.
Hmm.
Then there can be wicking. And so while it looks like it's totally dried and we can start the construction again, and of course it was a rental, so I'm sure the owner was
Yeah.
just like, let's get it done, you know.
Mhm.
And so it got clearance, everything was clean. Well, then by the time we moved in, there it was wicking up the foundation. And you honestly, I don't know that for a fact, but there was nothing else that we could find that was happening. And then once I found out that the slab had been saturated, that's where you were talking about regurgitating information. I only know what I know because of Marilee. So Marilee is like, yep, that's what's probably happening is this, you know.
Hmm.
So I was very wary with that any house that we were going to live in to make sure that there had not been a massive flood or any like slab saturation. Um, so that was good. And then we ended up finding the leak. So one of the leaks was in the master bathroom, like I said, in the bathtub, just a slow leak. It wasn't even there anymore. So it probably happened, and then just no ventilation and the conditions of Houston, Texas, of course. It happens to back up to an exterior wall that has ivy all over it, which I have learned can be, not very good environment for maintaining the ventilation of the house, breathing room. And then the other bathroom is has a wall that's the outside, so it's the exterior wall to the front yard, and there was a sprinkler that was broken and facing the slab for an
Mm.
extended amount of time. And
Yeah,
so
there
that
you
just
go.
came up through the walls, and then it just spread throughout the entire front of the house, probably 2 full bedrooms of width. So
Oh
just these
boy.
little things that you think, oh, no big deal. Oh, it's just a sprinkler head is, broken. Let's fix that. Let's put some
Hmm.
kills on it. It'll be fine.
Hmm.
I mean, I would have gotten severely sick.
Wow.
So we took it all out, and the beauty of of actually removing the source is that the cleanup is not bad. Once the source is gone,
Hmm.
we, of course, I'm going to say this, but I'm obviously biased to my own product, but Branch Basics is a surfactant, and we're all about removal versus disinfectant. So we actually didn't use any sort of bleach or anything. I mean, if we had to have used anything, we probably would have used a product called Decon 30.
Sure.
Um, but we didn't even have to do that. I mean, we HEPA vacuumed. So we always recommend we have a deep cleaning method that we can put in the show notes or people can look up, but it's called the Branch Basics Deep Clean Method. And hundreds of people have used it with success, but it does require a HEPA vacuum and a plant-based surfactant, fragrance-free surfactant. And so went through every surface, and I'm talking ceilings, walls, baseboards with that HEPA vacuum. You think everything's clean, and then the entire bag is just full of dust. Um, and then again, you think, oh, well, I just vacuumed my ceilings and my walls and my floor. There's no way that I need to wipe it down. Well, sure enough, you get 2 buckets of water. One's going to be the dirty bucket. One's going to be the one that's going to have a little bit of the Branch Basic surfactant solution in it.
Hmm.
And that dirty bucket gets dirty real fast with every swipe. And so we recommend a very dilute version of our product. So our product is already a concentrate. So you need a very small amount, because what you don't want is the surfactant having any sort of like leftover residue of that surfactant, which
Right.
could actually then act more as like a mold food. So making sure that you're not saturating, you're just lightly wiping down, and just enough for it to dry within a few minutes. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. I mean, the people that did our remediation, we actually had 2 separate groups. They couldn't believe how well it worked, and they had been trained to bring in the heavy duty Clorox and bleach and
Hmm.
kills, and they were like, wow, this is all you need, like, yes,
Hmm.
it's amazing. They're like, where do you get this stuff? So
Well, that's quite the story. And I remember years ago, using a surfactant cleaner concentrate mixed with water to do a mold remediation job here in Milwaukee. And I think we were working with Paul Davis Restoration, and they use it, and they're like, we're kind of amazed
mm,
that it actually worked without having to use all this junk they normally do.
yeah,
And for those who are curious, our surfactant, basically what it does is it makes water wet. It breaks the surface tension of water so that water can actually be like a technical solvent. So it allows for the water then to penetrate through whatever is on that surface and lift it from the surface, as opposed to eating away at it like a traditional cleaner, like a bleach or a Fantastic or
Right.
a 409. And that's what makes these surfactants so special, and especially ones that are plant-based and that leave no residual. I mean, these are very, very useful products, and you just got to get the industry, the mold remediation industry is about 20 to 30 years behind times right now.
Yeah.
And it's really being dictated by the insurance companies. And so if it's an insurance claim project, they're going to want to make sure they use all the nastiest stuff that's available, because they know it works and they'll pay for it. Anything new and innovative and doesn't smell, they don't want to work. They don't want to use it.
Yeah. That's true. And we had this cognitive dissonance when it comes to not being able to smell things, because we think that's not clean, it's not disinfected. And as a side note, to be disinfected does not necessarily mean it's cleaned, because some people don't realize that you actually, if you read the fine print on a disinfectant product, you're supposed to clean the surface first so that the disinfectant can actually work. And then the dwell time is often a lot longer than we realize.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, to your note, what you're saying, there was a house here in Houston years ago that had a massive chlordane issue, and the owner was sensitive and was basically told, this is not, it's not worth it. You need to move, and there's no way we can save this house. So Marilee used this Branch Basics deep clean method, and obviously on a much higher scale. I mean, she was using the Branch Basics surfactant formula, but swiping many times over baseboards where things had been sprayed, and, some exterior work, but they got full clearance of the home just using a surfactant. In fact, I don't even know if it was the formula that we have now. So the point is, this is not me selling Branch Basics. It's, you just got to get yourself a really good surfactant. And like you're saying, Andy, yeah, it's like they stir up the activity on the surface so that the dirt can be removed.
Right. And so it has to be done in a process where you can't just like spray it on and let it go.
Yeah.
You apply it and then wipe it off, and usually wipe it then with a clean cotton cloth, just with pure water, so there's no residue. So you were able to do this for chlordane, which is amazing. I've been involved in a few projects over the years where people are trying to remediate a home because of chlordane, and chlordane is what was used extensively for termites back before it was made illegal, I think in the
90s, right?
90s, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I remember a house we were working on out east where they were doing some work down in the crawl space, and they essentially exposed it because they were digging the crawl space to put in drain tile. And that stuff had been there since the 70s. The last time it was treated, but it can remain in the soil for 50, 60 years.
Oh, the half-life is so long. It's nasty, nasty stuff. In fact, that's really our company and our mission. It all started with Marilee's son, my first cousin, Douglas, who's in his mid 40s now. But when he was 9, he was at school, and they had treated underneath the auditorium with chlordane. And the next day there had been a rain that had come, and the kids were in the auditorium, and the water had risen up, and several kids got very sick, including my first cousin, Douglas. And he came out to carpool. His lips are blue. He can hardly walk. He can't form sentences. Here's this smart, beautiful, intelligent child. So my Aunt Marilee took him to Dr. Ray out in Dallas, environmental health specialist who'd worked with, Gulf War veterans and such. And Dr. Ray did a full assessment and said, this child can't recover. I mean, he will be a bubble child for the rest of his life. Just basically make him comfortable. He was on several shots a day. And Marilee tried that for a little bit. And then this was back in the, I think, 90s. She thought, there's a better way. And so she kept removing things in the environment in which they were living at the time until he wasn't reacting. I mean, this was a 7-year process, because every time something new would come in, his lymph nodes in his neck would shoot up like BBs almost immediately, even at the smell of like a bag from Target. And so she tried to remove everything. They actually lived in a tree for a couple of years. And one day she came into her house and she had this epiphany. She thought, I put all my favorite quote unquote non-toxic cleaning products. This is back when Whole Foods had just started, that they're on 6th Street in Austin. She had gotten some cleaning products and some makeup and stuff like that. And she put it in a box inside of a closet. And she had this epiphany. She thought, okay, wait a minute. If I am going down the grocery store aisle, the cleaning aisle, I can smell this stuff. Well, Douglas is like the canary in the coal mine. So in a parts per billion, trillion level, he is reacting, whereas most of us can't smell it. We're totally fine. So she thought, I'm going to remove this box. And every day he could only come inside for a small amount of time before he would get very agitated. He would have to leave. He would get very fidgety. His head, he couldn't hear. If you had to whisper, his, sensory nervous system was totally jacked up. And so she removed it, and he came in and he said, Mom, I don't feel like I need to leave. And she was like, oh, okay, just stay, kind of playing dumb. This happened for a few days in a row. And that was really what started our company, or that notion of the idea of source removal and how even a small amount can add up and create this low level chemical soup in the home. Mm-hmm. And so whereas, Andy, you and I may not smell something and react, but over time, cancer doesn't happen overnight. Right. So that was a long tangent, but I feel like that's something that could be interesting for listeners to hear.
Oh, without a doubt. I think I just did a presentation last week for the Real Truth About Health conference, and I spent quite a bit of time talking about how someone becomes chemically sensitive. Mm-hmm. And massive exposure is one of the most common, but the other then is the opposite, which is low-level exposure over a long period of time. Yeah. And so, I think a lot of us who are here today and listening to this would say, yeah, low-level exposure. Over the years, I've been constantly inundated, and I get to a point where my body just can't take it. Yeah. Well, then you have somebody who is, a child gets exposed to a pesticide, or you think of the EPA building back in 1987. They were doing some remodeling, and they installed 27,000 square feet of new carpeting in this building. Almost 800 people working in this building, and a third of them went home sick immediately.
And the irony of this is just thick.
It is. And to this day, this is 1987. To this day, there are 20 people who essentially are on permanent disability because of that.
Oh my goodness.
And it was all because of the carpeting that they used.
Yeah.
And so think about that. Everything we're exposed to, and most of us can tolerate this. Most of us have the ability to process this. But if you're one of the unfortunate ones who, if you've taken the genetic testing, the HLA-DR genetic test for mold, I remember years ago, I was taught that, and I forget who I learned this from, but taught that about 25% of the population has a chemical sensitivity, whether they know it or not. Coincidentally, when they started doing research on the HLA-DR gene, they've estimated that at 25% of the population. Wow. And so you start to think about, is it the exact same population who are, right? And that makes sense because mold mycotoxins or mold MVOCs have the exact same reaction in the body to chemical exposure.
Very interesting. Yeah. Listen, we say, oh, I'm not sensitive. It's like, okay, well, let's talk about your headache. Let's talk about your menstrual cramps. Let's talk about your insomnia. Let's talk about how many, different prescription medications you're on, and so many people just want to chalk everything up to genetics, allergies, things that we can't control. And the positive, kind of the flip of sounding kind of flippant and negative there is that, wow, we can control something. We have the opportunity to actually, create a healthier space, instead of thinking, oh my gosh, there's so many toxins everywhere. It's like, no. Like, let's look at this as an opportunity. We're not the victim of our genes. The genetics loads the gun, but environment pulls the trigger. And so it's really a huge blessing. Knowledge is power. Ignorance is not bliss when it comes to this stuff.
Exactly right. And so if you are one of those that you have taken the blood test and you know that you do carry that HLA-DR gene, you do know that you need to be more careful with exposure to mold. And now they're targeting all these other types of, Alzheimer's and different types of of health disorders because of carrying that gene. But then for everybody too, it's just, you know, low level exposure or massive exposure, either way, at some point, you know, it's taking a toll on the body. And if we are going to the doctor for every little thing and getting another prescription, as you say, um, maybe it's just a matter of removing things from our environment and instead of adding more toxins.
Yeah. No, exactly. There's just, I'm more convinced the longer that we do this, and by do this, we don't just sell a cleaning product. We really, you know, we're on a mission to help educate people about the importance of removing toxins. We really want to help people heal. But the more I do it, the more I realize there's nobody out there that doesn't benefit from the awareness and the source removal. You know, it doesn't cost a bunch of money to be healthy. You know, we think, oh, we have to buy this really nice infrared sauna and we have to do these certain treatments and we have to go to shop at Whole Foods. No, 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 no. I mean, the very first thing you do is just look around your house and get back to basics. Remove these things that, you know, Marilee uses this analogy. It's like you have a scab and you wake up every day and you keep picking at it and you wonder why it's not going to heal. It's like, just leave it alone. I mean, we got to just get out of our own way, AKA source removal. And then sure, I mean, there's detox modalities that can really help, but free medicine, open your windows, walk barefoot, you know, get some filtered water, fill it up at the gas station, you know, if you have to, from the glacier, you know, stations.
Right.
There's so many amazing things that you can do, you know, with really without spending any money to improve your air quality.
So let's talk about spending money for your air quality.
Yeah. or you can also spend money. You
So,
do have to do that sometimes.
Yeah. So you and I first connected about a year and a half ago when you were in the process of remodeling your home. And one of the things you did in your house is you installed natural wool carpet. And I love talking about this because, you know, with anybody who's looking at doing I don't like carpeting.
Yeah.
Traditional carpeting.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Traditional
it's a
carpeting
no. Yep.
carries anywhere from 600 to 1,200 chemicals. It'll off-gas formaldehyde for a minimum of 30 years. At least that's what I've tested.
Mm.
And others like, you know, Rosalind Anderson, when she developed that test back in the 80s of testing carpeting and showing that it could off-gas enough to kill laboratory mice.
Oh, my goodness.
And so you chose a natural, synthetic-free wool carpet called Earthweave for your house.
Yeah, it is my absolute favorite. I'm not kidding. You know, and there's so many carpets out there that claim to be eco-friendly and natural, but they still have all these synthetic chemicals, you know, whether it's the dyes, there's pesticides, AKA, you know, moth proofing.
Mm-hmm.
There's, oh, you know, you have a lot of kids. You need to make sure that your carpet stays clean and there's no stains. It's like, AKA used a ton of chemicals to, you know, protect from stains. And then, you know, not on top of all of that, you have this, you know, synthetic, like, you know, styrene adhesive backing. So it's, yeah, you know, people assume they just Google non-toxic carpet. You're going to get so many different things to come up. So of course I reached out to Andy and I'm like, all right, give me the real scoop. I want a completely pesticide-free carpet. I mean, we didn't have a choice in 2 of the rooms. Long story short there, but we went with carpet and I'm so glad we did. It is the most comfortable, cushy. I love it so much. And then the playroom, we just wanted carpet. We wanted kids to be on the floor. We don't have any furniture in there. We all live on the floor. And so it's so important to me. I mean, gosh, when we moved into this house, my baby was 4 or 5 months old. And so I wanted to make sure that it was going to be completely free of all the toxic chemicals. And so, yeah, we ended up going with the Earthweave, the Pyrenees, and then the Dolomite. And so they use like a combination of hemp and cotton for the backing, and then it's 100% untreated wool. And like I said, it's not just safe, it is gorgeous. I get compliments all the time. I think I've now referred 4 or 5 different of my friends to purchase from you. So, and then the carpet pad, that's something we don't think about. But again, I mean, you know, the carpet pads are usually full of fire retardants and glues and moth proofing and adhesives, et cetera. And so this one that we got from you guys is it a wool based pad?
100% natural wool. And again, same non-treatment, essentially. You know, they'll use, you know, a boric acid as sort of a scouring material.
Yeah.
to kind of help get rid of some of that barnyardy smell.
Yep.
But then in most situations, when you go to a carpet store and get wool carpet, all the salespeople will say is, "Oh yeah, it's natural carpet."
Mhm.
The fiber might be natural to start with, then they treat it with a chemical dye.
Yeah.
They'll have to add flame retardants back to it because they've now treated with so many chemicals that it's loses its natural fire resistance.
Mhm.
And then they may even add stain resistance because, again, when you scour it so much and use so many chemicals, it gets rid of all the natural lanolin. And
Yeah.
lanolin is what gives it its ability to be naturally stain resistant. And
Yeah.
so going with somebody that's has as little processing as possible, but still looks really good, you actually get all those benefits naturally. You don't have to chemically alter it to have those benefits.
Again, back to basics. I'm like,
Yeah.
look, God knew. He knew what we needed. The wool mattresses, and we have, gosh, yeah, we have, wool mattresses and wool car seats and wool carpets. I'm like, we just stick to the pure stuff. It's amazing. And they last so much longer, you
Oh
know?
yeah. Yeah, I would
So,
say with wool carpet, it's kind of like say, selling natural linoleum, like a marmoleum product.
right.
Wool carpet and marmoleum, your house will probably fall down around it.
Yeah,
It'll still be
exactly.
fine. I mean, in other countries, wool is not even installed as wall to wall. It's installed as large area rugs. And so they ever move, they can roll it up and take it with them because wool carpet will have a minimum 70 to 80 year lifespan.
Okay, that is so good to know. I will not be selling the carpet with the house. I don't know when we're moving. It's not anytime soon, but I will be taking my carpet. And the other thing, what I did is there was some extra. And so I ended up, gosh, it was like $100 or something, but I lined the sides
Yep.
and it's now used as my office rug and it's
Nice.
gorgeous.
Very
So,
good.
yeah,
Well, that's great. And I think that it's also one of those things too, when you're remodeling a home and you want to make it as healthy as possible, you also have to take in consideration mental health. And I
yeah,
think a lot of times, especially those who suffer from such severe sensitivities, think that that means I got to do porcelain tile throughout the entire house. And that starts to, first, it hurts the joints. And
yeah.
second of all, I think it starts to just um, it starts to wear on people because of the noise, the comfort factor, and it's something soothing about being able to walk into a room that has carpet that's, again, that's non-toxic. It helps mentally too.
Yeah. I love it. It's very welcoming. I could just go on and on about it. And honestly, the price is not bad. I mean,
Yeah.
for what you're getting, it's very reasonable.
Excellent. So what other things did you have to do in the house to try to
Yeah.
health it up a
So
bit?
we did a lot of painting, redid the bathrooms. So we ended up going with the Schluter system for the bathrooms, which you
Good.
can now get at Home Depot. And
Hmm.
for those that are not familiar with Schluter, it's an incredible well, what is it? It's like a sheet applied like a waterproofing membrane and
Yeah.
vapor retarder.
Well, and especially in a situation where you had a bathroom that had a leak or a shower that had a leak.
That's exactly right. Yeah, it's ideal used in like tile showers and
Right.
bathtub
And
surrounds.
so this is something that I will insist upon. There are a lot of things on a project that I'll kind of acquiesce and say, okay, well, we can do it a different way. But when it comes to a shower or a shower above a tub, this is something that I will not budge on
Yeah.
because the traditional way of waterproofing the surround is to use cement board, and then they take that cement board and they'll paint on a couple of coats of a waterproofing material. And I have seen videos and studies, and I've done it myself, that doesn't literally hold water. And what happens is over time you end up getting a small pinhole leak somewhere, or there's a cut in the waterproofing material, or it gets in from the side, and because of a crack in the grout, and the cement board becomes a wick, and it wicks the moisture all
Mm,
the way back to the wood studs. Doesn't happen overnight, usually happens anywhere between 2 and 10 years, but you will have a mold problem. With the
yeah.
Schluter system, that eliminates the possibility, eliminates it from conversation.
Yeah, because you can put it's like direct application.
Correct.
Yeah, it's really unbelievable. Those Germans, right? Is it German?
It is, yes.
Schluter, Curdy,
Uh-huh.
Schluter, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah. And so sometimes it's difficult to convince the contractor or the team to do it. But Schluter has such a good rep network as well. I mean, I've had situations on job sites where the rep actually comes and works with the contractors
What?
to show them how to do it to make sure it's done correct. Rebecca was asking about the waterproofing material. It's called Schluter System, Schluter, and
It's
Schluter.
now at Home Depot, which is
Yeah,
amazing.
exactly. And so,
So
yep,
yeah, we
Schluter's
did that.
okay.
And then a lot of the other things we did were just paint related. So we ended up changing all the fronts of the cabinet fronts. So for the actual cabinet frames that were originally oil based, I wasn't going to use oil based in my house, and so we used the AFM Safe Coat transitional primer, which you guys sell, and it's amazing. You know, non toxic water based primer. I really barely smelled it at all, and it's great as like a transitional layer between
Mhm.
oil based and water based finishes.
And we did the Ecolac then for the top coat, right?
Yeah, and then we did the Ecolog exactly, which is amazing because you can pigment it. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
essentially, like you can make it any color you want. And so I actually ended up sending in a color that I had gotten off of Sherwin-Williams deck, I believe,
Yeah.
and y'all color matched it. It was just perfect.
Nice.
Um, yeah,
Well, and that's important too because throughout the pandemic, remodeling kitchens, specifically painting cabinetry, was one of the most popular phone calls we've gotten
yeah.
through the pandemic because people are sitting there at the kitchen table doing homework or doing their work, and they're looking at the cabinets, going, "Well, as long as I'm here, I could probably finish these." And people don't understand how difficult it is to
It's so
refinish
hard.
cabinetry. It's like a 25-step program.
Oh, it's crazy. Well, then to do it in the non-toxic way,
Yeah.
yeah, because I mean, you're looking at the grout. I mean, not the grout, the caulk, and
Hmm.
there's so many different layers, and you know, it's definitely the most bang for your buck, though. I feel like in terms of updating an entire look, if you can just switch out your cabinet fronts. And so we actually did use Pure Bond,
Nice.
which is the formaldehyde free plywood that again is available at Home Depot, which is awesome. Um, so we used I want to say we used Pure Bond for the like the slab, and then around the trim was a poplar perhaps, which
Hmm.
is a very inert, beautiful wood. And then yeah, so it ended up just being gorgeous. Very, very happy with how it turned out.
Ah, very good.
Yeah.
And so, and that just goes to show that with a little bit of research, even local stores like Home Depot can carry these materials, and then reaching out to hopefully somebody like me or others around the country that have knowledge of these materials, just to make sure that you're not going in the wrong direction.
It's so easy to, because you
Yeah,
cannot trust non-toxic anymore. You just
right.
can't trust all natural. I mean, and the thing is the people that sell it, they just don't know most of the time. So they're not trying to trick us, you know? I
Right.
mean, it's like the wool carpet example. I mean, anyone you call, "Oh yeah, 100% natural, it's 100% wool." It's like, "Yeah, but it's not. What happened in that truck or that airplane on the way over here? What did they
Hmm.
spray it with?"
Yeah, and then they don't even talk about the backing material,
Yeah.
being usually it's styrene butadiene rubber, which off gases formaldehyde forever. So
Yeah.
let's talk about Branch Basics
Yeah.
because I've used the products myself. We sell them. We love them. People really, really latched on to Branch Basics when it came out, and I mean, and you mentioned it before. You're not just selling a product, but
No.
you're actually promoting not only a lifestyle but a life change.
Yeah.
And it's people are just I don't want to say addicted to it. People are um,
They're very engaged.
very engaged.
We
I,
have
I
a
mean, and
really
people
awesome community of
people
people.
come to me and just say, "I love their product. I'll never use anything else." I mean, we don't get that with many products, and so
Oh, I
you've
love
really
that
done it
so
right.
much. Yeah, I mean, we sell direct to consumer, except for special people like Andy. Um, and I mean, truly, I think I could count on one hand how many people sell it besides us. And you may be the only other online retailer. But yeah, I think people realize that we're just more than a soap, and we're not trying to sell them Branch Basics. I mean, heck, we write so many articles and newsletters, and I've been on several podcasts where I don't even mention our product until the very end when someone asks, because we really are all about giving people information to empower them, to prevent them from one day saying, why didn't somebody tell me this? And there's so many different areas to start when it comes to creating a healthy home, which in turn is going to create a healthy you, a healthy husband, kids, whatever it may be. But we feel like the cleaning is one of those things. I mean, ironically, the products that we bring into our home to clean are often the dirtiest, which is so sad because our intention is good. We're trying to create a clean environment. And most of the cleaners out there, even the non-toxic ones, we have to look at every single ingredient. We have to learn to be our own advocates, and the preservative systems in pretty much every single non-toxic green cleaning product are either a pesticide, EPA registered pesticide, but they're not healthy for us. And also the endocrine disrupting fragrances. I mean, that's a big thing about Branch Basics that makes us stand apart from others. So we use chamomile to preserve the concentrate, and then we will never have a fragrance in our product. People that are, oh my gosh, I have to have a fragrance. I'm like, okay, well, you can add a really high quality wild crafted essential oil, but they're finding now that even these essential oils are creating hormone disruption. So yeah, we have tons of articles, like I said, that how to detoxify your laundry room, how to choose a healthy mattress, how to do a DIY, air purifier with a filter and like a 3M fan before you can afford the Austin Air, whatever it may be. We're trying to meet people where they are.
Sure.
How to get clean water. I mean, these are just the basics that we should be able to trust, that our water is clean, that our mattresses are clean, that our carpet, that our paint, but we can't. And so, we're one of the sickest countries. The irony is so thick because we are so advanced and we have products at our fingertips. But unless we become our own product advocates and we learn to read ingredients and look at the warning signs and toss the toxins, we are usually not going to feel well. And it's going to show up, like you said, it can be the dramatic, I was exposed and now I'm sick, or what it often is just kind of that low level. My whole life, I've used all these things and now I don't feel well. And so we think, oh, but I've been feeling well forever and I've been using these things forever. And why does it now matter? It's like, well, there's a rain barrel effect, and drop by drop by drop by drop, you have finally experienced a spillover. And so we're just trying to help people lower their rain barrels.
Well, and what I love about this concept too is that you've developed you have many products, but you have one cleaner concentrate.
Yeah.
And that cleaner concentrate can be used for just about everything in the house.
Yeah.
At different dilutions.
Exactly.
And you promote that by you can buy kits that have that you can use for different areas. So you can mix it 3 different ways for 3 different areas.
Yeah.
If you go into the average home today and you open up their utility closet with all of their cleaning materials, they got 17 different things because they got to have something specific just to clean the fireplace mantle, and something specific just to clean the grill, and yet you can do it all with one product.
Yeah.
And as you said, they all have fragrances, all these other products. Those fragrances are made from toxic materials. I remember years ago working with a hospital that we were trying to get them to switch over their paint and switch over their cleaners, and they would not work with our products because the products that we were promoting, this is way before, Branch Basics went around. This is back when I was first starting in the business. They specifically told me they would not buy our products because they had no smell.
Oh, wow.
And I said, wait, you're a hospital. I said, yeah, well, we are used to having the pine smell.
Yep.
For cleaners.
Smell equals clean.
It equals clean.
Yep.
Exactly right. And I remember there was a customer of mine who wrote a book, talked about how toxic hospitals are, that they are the most toxic buildings you can walk into because of all the cleaners and disinfectants and stuff that they use. And they use at way 300% more than they need to, so that people just have the illusion that it's clean.
Unbelievable.
So
yeah, we have such associations, right, that are
right.
not healthy.
Exactly right. And so, yeah, that's why I really fell in love with your products. I love the whole concept of here's your product, here's how you mix it, here's how you use it, and get rid of everything else.
Yeah, it really does streamline. It streamlines the entire cleaning process. We did just come up with dish tabs because we used to say, okay, this one product will replace every single cleaning need in your entire home except your dishes. So we did come out with dish tabs. We're really excited about that. And not
Nice.
only that, it works. I mean, we can send me your stains. There's pretty much not one that we can't get out. Popcorn, movie theater popcorn is a tough one because the oils are so rancid. But
Wow.
other than that,
Well, that's fantastic. It's like having your own testing lab, right?
yeah,
It's,
exactly. We've done lots of testing. It took us over a year and a half to come out with the formula, and we were at, gosh, over 100 iterations. So I can't even tell you how
wow,
much testing we did.
that is fantastic. And so, um, are you continually working then on new formulations? I mean, I guess one of the things I have to ask you is how did the pandemic change you guys,
Yeah.
or did it cause you to sort of maybe dial in and really focus, or did it give you opportunity to say we need to come up with new things because people are really asking for it?
No, yeah, it was more the dial in and focus and really focusing on education, especially in the pandemic where everyone's, even the non-toxic mindset people are grabbing their disinfectants because that's what we were told to do. And I mean, I hate to say it, but kind of brainwashed into thinking that we absolutely have to disinfect. And again, how many times have I used the word ironic or irony on this call? But it's like we're burning down the barn to kill the rats, and we're wondering why we keep getting sick. Because we're not only taking away all the good bacteria, but the bad as well. So we really pushed a lot on the education front. The idea that we don't need to sanitize and disinfect, but we can clean by removal. And yeah, the pandemic, there was a silver lining in that we did do pretty well then because people were home more and they needed to clean. And lots of smart people out there that were not disinfecting or that, doing it very seldomly, but really just doing more surface cleaning. So it was a pretty good time for us in terms of business. And then, in terms of new product innovation, I mean, for us, again, it's like we just want our message and our mission to get out there. We just launched a course called Toss the Toxins,
Awesome.
where we go through different modules. I believe there's 12. And Marilee and Kelly and I did video modules where we take people through different areas of their homes, starting with the most toxic. So we have everything from pesticides, synthetic fragrances, your laundry room, your pantry, even like all the way to, toxic thoughts. And it's been really fun. We just launched that a couple of months ago, and we have a fun little community that started around that. I mean, would I love to have wipes? Yes. We would love to come out with something for
Yeah.
mold. I mean, there's so many different ideas that we have. But with our standards of, ingredients, it's not easy for us to innovate new
It's got to make
products.
sense. It's got to make sense.
It does.
You certainly don't want to bring out anything that would at any point someone come back to you and say, well, why'd you do it that way?
Yeah.
And so
We're just not going to compromise.
good. I'm so happy to hear that because I've seen, in my 30 plus year career, I have seen companies ramp up and go away and ramp up and go
Yeah.
away. I mean, trying to pioneer new ideas, which is great, but they lose focus on what got them the following, the success that they got early on in the business. And you all have just really stuck with your guns and said, this is what we're going to do. And instead of coming out with just new products every other week, we're going to come out with new ways to use it, the same product, new ways,
Exactly.
a new educational protocol. And we'll certainly put that in the show notes too, so people
Yeah.
can reach out and sign up for that. And so, one of the things I think about is I've got some ideas for your products too. And
Ooh, bring it on. I love it.
yeah, I will. I won't say it over the air here because this could be a really good idea. But
Okay. Oh, yeah. I like it. This is
if it
good.
works out, I'll definitely tag it in the notes later on.
Cliffhanger.
Yeah, cliffhanger. All right, so we're coming to the end here. If anybody has any additional questions, now's the time to put it in the chat. Otherwise, Allison, what's the best way for folks to find you or to follow what you guys are doing?
Yeah. I mean, branchbasics.com, and literally you could spend hours and hours and hours, days really, and not go through all of our podcasts. I mean, sorry, all of our blog posts. And you can pretty much just Google if there's something you need to find. Branch Basics, comma, mattress, eye cream, shampoo. These are just things that we have written about, and we're helping to guide you to other brands that we approve of. So we don't have those products, but we're always going to give our very unbiased opinion about different brands to use, and we'll obviously recommend a lot of the things that Andy sells. And we have zero affiliation with any company. We refuse to take commission. We just want to remain as unbiased as possible. So that, and then you can follow along on Instagram at Branch Basics. And Kelly, my co-founder, and myself are on quite often, and we share lots of testimonials and cleaning tips. And our newsletter, you can sign up for our newsletter. We send really good stuff, and not often. So not too much, I should say. So
Well,
that's
I
pretty much it.
love your Instagram feed is always full of, like you said, testimonials. And
Yeah.
I think that everybody always wants to learn. And it's one thing learning from the company or learning from others who have actually done it, who don't have your experience, and they want to just share that information. Rebecca was asking, how did you find your tribe to connect with fellow like-minded moms, women, people in the world of non-toxic living?
Oh, yeah, I'm still looking. Um, it can be a lonely place, but I feel like, I don't know. I'm a Christian, and I'm like, okay, God just has dropped people in my life. That's how I personally feel. If I'm advocating, for instance, today, they served Chick-fil-A and something else at my kindergartner's going away party, and we don't do Chick-fil-A. And so we brought something else. And it's so funny because as soon as you do something different, someone else that's doing something different is going to ask about it, or they're like, oh, I thought about doing that, but I didn't know if you could. I mean, that's just some silly example that happened today, but it happens all the time. I mean, the more that you can get into this world and start asking questions, I just feel like you're going to attract more like-minded people. And even just on social media, I mean, there are upsides to social, and starting conversations, or even looking in the comments and seeing other people that have commented on something similar. And I have found many friends over social media. And your friends that are open, and the ones that aren't, you just love on them, and sometimes they'll come around and start asking questions you never thought they would. So it definitely takes time, and I have to say I have a very small circle of people who are, I guess, as into this as I am. But it's I got my family, and I'm doing it for them. And so that's kind of where I land.
Well, I love it because you're really staying true to you and to your beliefs and I started this circle community specifically so people had the ability to connect with others around the country without fear of on Facebook and Instagram and so forth. Excellent ways to get information out and to connect with people. But if you really wanted to have like serious conversation and ask some really sometimes personal questions about things, the fear is that somebody's going to get on there and just start blasting and saying all these negative things and making it really, you wonder why you're even doing it and why you're here. This circle community for non-toxic environments is that sort of safe space where people can come on and talk
I
about
was
those.
going to say, you've provided this amazing platform. It's just unbelievable. I mean, this is kind of what we're hoping to do, and what we've started to do with our Toss the Toxins community. We have personals like where we can talk to people over Slack. I was just answering some questions this morning about a non-toxic electric kettle. I mean, people, and I love it because people start answering, like your audience starts answering for each other. And so you're just fostering this, you're providing a platform and fostering community.
And then, as you said it before, you lead by example. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's one thing that the typical Instagram influencers, they can never relate to people on a personal note because they don't have authenticity.
Yeah.
And you can tell because there are people out there who are just trying to sell product and here's my affiliate link and please support the channel. And then there are folks like you who just, this is the way I raise my family, this is how I live my life, and we made these products that are wonderful and so forth. But it's not all about that. It's about sharing the information and knowledge that you've gained over the years. That's kind of the way I feel too, is like, I'm getting to the point where after 30 years, I just want to get the information out of my head and into the hands
Yes.
and minds of
Yes.
others so that they can pass it on.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. No, and you're
Awesome.
sweet for saying that. It's true. I mean, sometimes I pinch myself. I'm like, this is my job. I'm just sharing what I am already doing with my kids. And like I just got 2 packages today. One is some like clean cookies, and then another one is some organic like leggings, and I'm like, I just get to show my audience this, like, this pinch me. This is so fun that I just get to share what we are already doing and hopefully inspire people.
That is fantastic. Allison, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you. I loved every minute of talking to you, and I hope that some of the things that we shared was helpful for people.
It definitely was. And folks, I will be, this will actually be replayed on the Circle community within the next half hour to an hour. And so obviously, if you didn't get the chance to join the live stream today, you'll see it, the replay. The podcast will be up probably within the next few days. And so we really want to make this, we want to promote it as much as possible, because conversations like this are just so exciting for me. It's just so uplifting for me. And so I'm sure you'll feel the same way. Allison, thanks again, and we will talk soon.
Thank you. Y'all have a great day.
Bye-bye.